So next up I'm going to do eyebrows, which I quite like to do eyebrows before eyeshadow sometimes, because I think it gives you kind of a framework to work with. Because if sometimes when you get the eyebrows in, you don't always need as much eyeshadow because it's kind of already framed the eye up for you. So I'm just going to get this one going a bit. It's a bit cold. There we go. So Stephanie's got sort of fine-ish eyebrows. The hair coverage is a little bit sparse, so I'm going to use little tiny hair strokes in between to just give her a little bit of a denser looking hair coverage. So you can either use the pencils if you want to. It's quite good on people with sparse brows because you can actually put individual hair strokes in, which looks really natural. So here we go. Let's do a little bit on the other side. And look at the shape as well if you need to correct the shape. So Stephanie's got a little bit longer on this side than the other, so I'm just going to bring this one down in line with the other one. So if you notice, I'll keep working, taking a look, going back in again, make sure we don't go too much with the product. If you do, these little brushes at their end are brilliant. You can just gently, because it's quite a sensitive area, just brush over it and it will start taking the colour away. So if you have gone too much, you can just say brush it through, and it's quite good to just slightly take it down again. And then make sure you look straight on, so you're straight onto the camera. And sometimes I do that just to make sure all my eyebrows are in line. You can do with a pencil as well to make sure they're stopping about at the right area there. I mean, everybody's face is slightly off, nobody's completely symmetrical, so you just want them to work together rather than being absolutely identical to each other. But as I say, the pencil just going out at a 45 from the eye is a good place to stop the eyebrow for most people. If you bring it too far down here, you're going to start bringing the line of the eye down and bringing the eye closed effectively and the eyebrow down. So let's say that's about right. We can always go back and add more when we do the evening look if you want a slightly more enhanced brow. So now I'm going to apply the eye base before we start our eyeshadow. I love this product. This is great. We use this on the book, and I've been using it ever since. It's really great. You can show them this and a liner and a bit of mascara, and you've still got that really groomed, a little bit of definition on the eye for their everyday routine. I think this product, is a really good all-rounder, especially for, say, people who aren't confident with makeup. Because if you look now from, just, again, using that slightly patting rather than wiping, just to use the heat of your finger to work the product. Just the difference from eye to eye there. And if you just open for me, please, Stephanie. So a little bit of mascara and liner, you know, a daily look just to, you know, do your day-to-day stuff. It makes it easier to work with the eyeshadows as well, because once this is on, they don't drop so much. The colours become more true when they're applied to the eye, and they stay on better and don't crease as well. Can you see on my head? Okay. There we go, so all evened out. So for our daytime look, I'm going to accent with khaki. So using my hand as a palette again, I picked up a little bit of colour. Just going to tap off the excess so it doesn't all drop on our lovely foundation we've just done. And if I get Stephanie to close for me. So Stephanie's got quite a good balanced face. She's a little bit narrow in here, so I'm going to keep the colour to the outside of the face to draw the eyes out slightly and balance the face a little bit. I'm not going to bring colour in here because that would make them appear even closer together. Think about light colours bringing things forward and enlarging features, dark colours throwing them back. So I'm going to create a little bit of drama in the corners of the eye, which is going to pull out here. And then I'm going to go with the lighter shade in the centre to make the lid appear bigger. The eyelashes will stand out against that lid, so you get that really nice opened eye look, and it makes enlarges the eye. So it's like a sort of crescent shape in the corner. And this is quite a universally flattering eye makeup shape to do on most people, especially sort of European Caucasian features. And again, I don't know whether you notice, it's slightly a tapping as well as a brushing, but sometimes I think if you brush too much, you flick the product goes everywhere. And so this eye base is great because the product sticks to it, so it doesn't move around too much. So you can really control where it's going. So this bit in the crease here, and actually another really good tip is if you've got somebody, Stephanie's is really easy to do because she's got a really defined crease line, but if you just open for me, Stephanie, if you get somebody who's not got so much of a deep set eye and that crease line's really hard to find, if you get them to open and just look straight ahead, that's a really good way to find their crease line. You can just do that, and then you can get them to, if you just close again for me, and then blend. But I say on different face shapes, it's sometimes more difficult to find that crease line. Okay, so we kind of got it where we want it now, so I'm just going to use a slightly bigger brush to blend with the same colour. Again, just taking off all the excess. And getting the shape really nice. And then we're going to use, let me just see what this one's called, Gold Whisper as our highlight. And just close me again. And that's got a nice bit of sheen in it as well, which also, anything kind of with a slight metallic-y sheen in it will also enlarge and reflect light, so that's a really good sort of texture to use when you want to enlarge features. I'm using my finger for this. I find fingers quite good because it is kind of the right size for that, the highest point of the eye when you're trying to highlight. So, and then I'm just going to blend in with the brush. Okay, so back to the big brush that's got the khaki on it. I'm just going to blend the two together so it's fairly seamless where the two colours meet. And you can introduce a third if you want, but because we kind of got that eye base on, there's like the neutraliser, I think I'm just going to stick with two today for our daytime look. But you could go in with a third and then go with the darker accent, but I'm going to save that for our evening look. Very nice. So we've got the outside of the eyes just slightly defined and accented. So now we will go with a liner. Here we go, which is Moss, which is a lovely colour. I really like Moss. And again, colour theory wise, Stephanie's got lovely deep hazily eyes, so Moss is going to really bring that out, being the complementary colour to brown. So if you look right up to scene for me again. See, I'm just trying to shade the eye so this is comfortable for Stephanie to stay looking at. You've got a very steady eye actually, Stephanie. Some people really do not like the under the eye bits. And close for me, that's great. And so again, working with the shape of the eye, you can go slightly thicker with the liner on towards the outside of the eye and then just slightly taper it in. If you're not confident with the liner and kind of don't feel confident of getting those sort of straight lines, use do the liner, just use tiny little strokes and work it across ever so steadily. And then if if it's not 100% perfect, you just soften it, go back to your small shadow brush and just soften over, because really you just want to create a little bit of definition near the lash line, which makes the lashes appear more thicker, the eyes appear more open. It doesn't need to be pin straight, especially on a soft, which definitely is. Everything should be blended. So, yeah, just blend it in and just open for me. And you get that drama near the lash line. But say, it doesn't have to be pin straight. You can just soften it up again and just close me once more. And if you lift and just try and get that as right as close to the lash line as possible. And I'm just going to do it on this side. And I don't know whether you notice, I keep warming them up on the back of my hand as well, because these pencils are great, they really stay on there, great texture, but because the eye is quite sensitive, just be aware of pressing too hard on people's eyelids. You know, have a look at the beginning, make sure they're not wearing lenses or anything. So just say if it is a bit hard, the pencils do get a bit cold sometimes, just warm them up and then it should glide over nice and easily. So, a little bit, make sure my head's not in the way. A little bit there. Actually, if I turn you towards me, Stephanie. And then eyes open, look right up to the ceiling for me, that's it. Just do a little bit more on this one. Okay, let's have a look. Very nice. Lovely. And now we are going to apply brown black mascara. Let's use one of these. So this is a good way, rolling in it rather than pumping it. If you pump it, your mascara will probably dry out quite quickly. So just try and roll the product on into the brush. Not loads in there. There we go. Okay, I think I got some. And the easiest way I find to apply, and the most comfortable way for your model usually, is if you close your eyes, Stephanie, for me. And then hold the lid and then just roll the product on with the eyes closed or looking down. But I think for the model, a bit of fluff on there, it's usually a little bit more comfortable than kind of doing the half down, looking off to the side thing where they have to try and find something to focus on, especially if somebody is a bit squeamish around the eye area. So you can roll and you can just shuffle the brush backwards and forwards as well. Here we go. Okay, and look down, that's great. So get as close to lash line as you possibly can without obviously ruining the nice eyeshadow you've just done. If you do touch on the eyeshadow, a little cotton bud just to correct it is fairly easy. Let it dry a little bit first, otherwise when you wipe off the bit that you've accidentally put on, it usually travels. So I usually, if I've made a mistake, I wait until it's dried and then I just use a little cotton bud to take it away. These ones are really good actually. I use these loads, the little Muji ones, because they're tiny. They're really, really handy. I use them all the time. Yeah, they're really good. You can be really precise with them, and you know, touching up eyeliners and things like that, you can really get a straight line. Sometimes I wrap a baby right around the top really tight if I've maybe gone too far down with a liner or something, and I'll just use it just to completely sort of take away and put in a nice straight line with the baby wipe. And just close again, sorry, that's great. Just going to do a little bit more. I quite like a little bit of mascara on the eyes, even as a daytime look. Everybody's quite into lashes at the moment, aren't they? So we're just going to do a little bit more lashes. And if you just open for me, and then if you do want a little bit more drama, you can get them to just look straight ahead for me, Stephanie. And I'm just going to add a little bit more on the corners. Actually, these are quite good little ones to use if you want to add a little bit. And these are quite good to use underneath as well, the little fan brushes. And you can just wash them off at the end of the session. So if you want, just if you look straight ahead, if you want a little bit more drama on those very corner lashes to kind of lift the eye out and elongate, you can just add a little bit more on the top with this little brush. Oops. Hold on, hair. And then again, straight ahead. And then I always like to put a little bit on the bottom lashes because I think it balances the eye and opens it out a little bit. But especially if somebody's got long lashes on the bottom, I always just touch it on the roots because otherwise it kind of looks a bit spidery and a bit Mary Quantish. So I usually just try and touch it just so it shows they're there, and again it sort of frames the eye, but not too much on the bottom lashes generally, unless somebody wants that look, wants the retro 60s lashes. There we go. So this little brush is quite good to do that with because you can just touch it on. Lovely.